you think, I've seen figures for square footage, but you also have to remember that at the museum, you've got 14-foot ceilings. So maybe after the redo, we're down to 13 and a fraction on them. If you looked in the museum, you've got the level that is 7, 8 feet tall, but you have a second tier that is way up there. I have paintings that are too tall, even in the tallest part of that basement to hang. They would literally not fit floor to ceiling. They're that tall. You wouldn't have the construction if you stayed. It's easier access to that meeting room for programs and classes. The donation box can be more visible. I can't leave a donation box out if nobody's there. Donation box won't last very long, let alone what's inside of it. It's not handicapped accessible. Even if you use the elevator, what if somebody's using the main floor? If they're playing pickleball, you're going to have somebody in a wheelchair scoot around the perimeter to try to get to the elevator. If you were looking financially, right now, the main museum room is empty. And it's got the wallpaper that was originally there in various stages of fading, depending on what was there. I did a test wall. I painted it to see if it would hold paint. It does. Whether it's a weight room, whether it's a museum, I would assume that's a wash. You're going to paint those walls. You're not going to leave them splotched yellow. Outside that, you have the moving expenses. It also reassures the public that when they give you a donation the size that Anna Bemis Palmer did, you honor that. Her donation was only $168,000+, but that was in the 1960s. If I go online and use the conversion for inflation, that's $1.4 million. So when you die, if you leave $1.4 million, would you expect the city to honor that? Or would you expect them to, whatever it was, be moved into a basement? I don't think her vision was that her museum, that money would go to a basement. And I've been at the community center about half days, except for the most cold, frigid days this year. And when people bring it up, the first thing is, well, that's York for you. Is that a reputation you really want to have? Because eventually, if that's really what you're going to always do, you aren't going to have people giving you money. This will be a short-term win for you. Moving to the auditorium. Room isn't secure, not handicapped, no office space, no secure storage space, no places for the classes, no security system. The only outlets are on the perimeter, and the ones under the vents, you're down to 7 feet again on those. What are you going to do when they have special events in the auditorium? Is it nobody's there? It's closed, so anybody again can just walk into it. There's lots of different paths to get you down into it. Windows still need the UV, and then the overall. Jerry, you mentioned maybe we could put smaller displays in there and rotate them monthly. I think that was something I saw in the paper. To change a display monthly and moving things in and out, I can tell you firsthand with how many things were broken just moving it next door to the senior center. Just because of how they were moved. And if we're doing that every month, we're at a higher risk of more and more breakage on it. It's just if I look at this for conservation, preservation, and the financial responsibility that you guys have, to me that's a no-brainer. I would like, if you haven't been there yet, go tour it yourself. Or before one of your future meetings, could everybody meeting be called to session and you meet over there and as a group tour, so anybody has questions, everybody is hearing answers, that you're all seeing it?
Nancy, and I'm just to interrupt you for a second, this whole, and I thank you for all of your comments, and we're just at the very beginning of this discussion. I mean, Cherie made an appointment, made a presentation. You know, I was asked what I think, you know, I'm gonna tell you what I think. You know, but we haven't made decisions.
I know.
We haven't looked at, and I appreciate all the things that you're saying and know that things would have to be done and back and forth. But now's the time for us to look at these options. And so that's what we're doing. Right, and so this is all we're doing is
Everybody could
looking.
just see 'em.
We're looking at
Look at
options and
options.
I don't think anybody wants to see the museum, you know, go away. But I think we do have to look at our assets and make sure that we use them the best way. And I think that's what we have to, the council is going to have those decisions, but, you know, we haven't presented anything to
So
anybody.
what do I need to provide for you?
Well, I think we'll ask for you to consult and you'll be welcome to come back whenever the discussion is there. I think you've presented your case. I mean, of where I know how you think about this subject, and you think passionately about it, and that's great.
I do.
And that's great. And we have a lot of people that think passionately about things, and that's why things are around. But you know, I think it is one of those things that to me, the history of the museum for the past 50 years, and the fact that it really hasn't done, you know, it hasn't tried to kind of be that museum you're talking about, or get more people to go there. I think that's why I think you can talk to some people in the community, and they're not very well aware of this museum even exists.
That's true.
But they do know, but we do hear, and everyone on this council hears, what parents and people say is that there's not enough things for kids to do in this town, especially in the wintertime. And I don't know about the middle school program or anything, you know, but I mean, I think one of the ideas was just to make it a little more kid-friendly facility, because if you take kids that are smaller, the only thing they can really do there is go swimming. You know, that's about it. So that's the other side of our discussion, but no decisions are made, nothing's been presented to the council, and we'll have more discussions, and the community center is going to be closed for months, so we don't have, you know, we have some time to think about it, and that's why, you know, I think that we've tried to bring it up.
Can you assure me that I will know ahead of time when it's on the agenda? Because the last time I had no forewarning.
Well, it wasn't on the agenda to talk specifically about the museum. That was the annual Park and Rec report to the board that Cherie does every year. So that was about the pools and the park and the center, and then comments were made about the museum. So that,
But I mean, I've talked to you that in the community center that one day, and people were voicing concerns with everything moving out, and you said, don't worry about it, the museum's not going anywhere. Cherie, I walked through with her just a matter of a few weeks before we were taking everything out and explaining how the boxes were coded and where the areas would be coming back. And she says, well, that sounds a good idea. That seems so smart to do it that way. Can't wait to see it. And then weeks later, she's proposing it not be there. I'm feeling very blindsided.
I don't really think that, I mean, any comments that I've made to the newspaper or here, yeah, and there have been very few, because I don't know how it would fit in the basement of the auditorium. I know that there'd be things we'd have to do. I don't know if the council would want to spend those kind of dollars. If we want to do that sort of thing, we'd have to look at those kind of issues. If that was even the case that we were going to do that, there's obviously things that would have to be done. But we haven't even got to that yet. I mean, I don't think I don't think this group is even at a point right now where they need to go look at it. They need to think about it a little bit. But I don't think they're at a point where we're even close to a decision. So we will make a point, and that's why I had Sheila, as we've talked, you know, Sheila had volunteered to go do that tour with you, but Sheila will be a liaison to help make sure that you know what's going on through this, and she's also on the Park and Rec board, and she's willing to do that. So we'll make double sure that you know if this subject's coming up for any kind of decisions in public, or if we're going to talk about it.
I would appreciate that.
And we will do that. But we appreciate all your
I
information
truly do respect that you guys have a hard decision.
and appreciate all the work. I know the time you spent there because I'm in there. When it was open, I'm in there quite a bit and I really didn't see you. You were there a lot. I know there's no question of your passion for it. So we will keep you informed, okay? And thank you for all your information tonight.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
And I just want to say, I stepped in because I saw a vision for it in the basement, but we've shared so much, and I hope I didn't feel to any of the council that I overstepped my bounds taking her over there to look at it. So I just thought it was good to look at our options.
We're trying to talk it through it, so all the conversation about it is good for the decision. So we'll keep that going, and we'll keep it open and transparent, and that's how it will be done. So thank you again. We're going to move on with the remainder of our agenda. The next agenda item is division of the city clerk and treasurer duties. Charlie, do you have a comment or two on this?
Okay, historically, the city clerk and treasurer positions were combined, and Jean did both jobs. A number of years ago, we separated those jobs, and now we have a city treasurer, and Jean still serves as the clerk. But our ordinances still provide for combined duties. So we need to change the ordinances to reflect what we're doing now, which is to have separate positions. And in doing that, not only do we need to create them as separate positions, but we also need to define the duties that are set out by state law. So that's what these ordinances do. They provide for the responsibilities that are imposed by state law, and they create separate positions, which is what we're doing.
So we're just kind of a little housekeeping that we needed to get this straightened out.
Right.
Yes. Any questions on this? We would again need to suspend the rules on ordinance 2282.
So moved to suspend the rules on ordinance 2280.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any further questions on that? Jean?
North,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Van Ash,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
And now passage of ordinance 2282.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments? Jean?
North,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Van Ash,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
The next item is approve a consulting services agreement amendment with Benish for concrete preservation for extended construction engineering for a time. Material cost not to exceed $29,000. Joe?
This kind of goes along with what Benish has done last year with our street panel replacement. But we're still going to be doing this year, the spring yet, and then kind of with the 1 and 6 year plan. So we're looking forward to do that. Again, we don't have a public works director, so they're acting as part of that public works director in those duties and oversight and giving us guidance.
Hopefully we'll resolve this one of these days, but for right now, we have to have this oversight.
I move that we approve consulting services with Benish not to exceed $29,000.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any further comments? Jean?
North,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Van Ash,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Our last agenda item is an agency agreement with the Nebraska Department of Transportation at the airport. Joe?
At the last meeting, we also had an agreement with them. This is a continuation of the grants that we're doing. Again, they are acting on our behalf and are the intermediary between us and the government side of it.
So we're just kind of continuing on that same path with
We are.
them representing us. So we would need to pass resolution 2021-13.
I move for approval. Second.
Motion. Any further questions on that? Seeing none, Jean?
North,
Yes.
Wilkinson,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Van Ash,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
That takes us to the end of our agenda. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.